Jan Švankmajer's brilliant short film Food, titled Jídlo in the original Czech, centres on the 3 essential daily meals, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and the exaggerated, unconventional manners in which people eat. Embracing true visual hyperbole, Švankmajer meshes live-action film, live actors, with stop-motion animation accentuating and emphasising character movements. From the impossibly wide gape of a hungry mouth to the unnatural character movements as the humans remain static, yet still move around the room. Švankmajer's stylistic approach to filmmaking is often absurdist, hilarious, surreal and bleak. An approach to filmmaking which has served as a major inspiration for directors such as Terry Gilliam, best known for work within Monty Python, but also as a director for films such as Brazil and 12 Monkeys. Within Food, Švankmajer preserves this approach by creating unnatural situations. The man contains an empty void occupied by a dumbwaiter, which brings up breakfast once the man has been physically assaulted and paid. Lunch resorts to a tirelessly endless wait to be served, resulting in one of the customers resorting to cannibalism. Dinner is cannibalism on cannibalism, as people are served genitalia and human limbs to feed upon. From a surprisingly humorous sketch, breakfast is bound to make viewers seeking absurdist humour laugh. These sketches become gradually darker while still retaining a sense of humour. The production design of the sets, with its muted and drab mise-en-scène, and the food looking particularly bland, certainly contributes to the short film's sense of bleakness. These aren't exactly eating establishments many of us would wish to rush out to. The initial impression is already somewhat off-putting, but as we acknowledge that this film is behaving within the realms of surrealism, exaggerated movements, sequences, and expressions aided by stop-motion animation, then the eventual outcome of these 3 sketches becomes even more unpredictable. Although the unpredictability of this short film, and Jan Švankmajer's filmography as a whole, isn't inaccessible, far from it. Writing for The Independent, Lee Spencer stated that, in fact, although often seen as verging on the esoteric, Švankmajer has always filled his films with practical jokes and a fiercely imaginative bad taste. His work has always been infused with a kind of black magic, a relish for the grotesque. Vomiting heads, cannibalistic dolls, and bleeding marionettes have all featured in Švankmajer's shorts. Bizarre journeys through the murky reaches of the subconscious, constructed from found objects, clay models, conventional drawn animation, and stop-frame special effects. A mixture of the humour and the grotesque is definitely apparent throughout Švankmajer's films, and especially within Food. During the lunch sketch, it's almost as if the customers sharing the same table are in competition with each other to see who can feed upon the most before they are served, with the scruffier customer losing, being outwitted by his peer, and the cost is his demise. It's ridiculous and morbid, especially knowing that the cannibalistic act is performed off screen, leaving the worst details to the viewer's own vibrant imagination, but it's also incredibly funny, like a distasteful joke. A character dies during the sketch, and yet who hasn't been bored waiting excessively to be served at a busy restaurant? It's a feeling of frustration many of us can relate to, that is no fault of the customer and also rather likely no fault of the waiting staff. We can tell that the waiter is moving back and forth in an exaggerated manner, as if desperate to serve everyone at the same time. The restaurant likely understaffed. Therefore, during the lunch sketch, the realism of having to wait to be served, sometimes unfortunately for longer than we wish, is meshed with the absurdity of excessive hunger, leading into cannibalism. Not dissimilar to when a cartoon character may imagine one of their peers as a favourite piece of food. With the mixture of clay sculpting and stop-motion special effects, this sequence embraces the absurd, the morbid, and the darkly hilarious so effectively that it's bound to both shock and entertain. The tonal tightrope walk of balancing comedy with shock is a powerful skill Švankmajer masterfully utilises. From the physical abuse that the anonymous server faces within breakfast to a garishly served piece of male genitalia in dinner, Švankmajer demonstrates our darker nature, being able to laugh at something horrific. In conclusion, Jan Švankmajer's Food is a marvellous example of short stop-motion filmmaking. The first viewing of Food is like that of a practical joke, unpredictable and bound to be shocking, but Food's inventive approach is more than just a basic shock. It's a high-wire act, balancing a gloriously silly sense of humour with the morbidly grim. For those new to Švankmajer's fascinating approach to filmmaking, Food is a great place to start. Once you've taken your first bite, you'll be hooked.